Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Chapter 11. There are still more than 2 months before the start of school in Shanghai University. After all, there is no college entrance examination yet, but for Su Ming, if he wants, he can go to school now, special treatment for special talents. However, he did not intend to report in advance. Although it is said that after the awakening of the ability, the things that happened around him were not small, but in the final analysis, he is just a first-level low-level ability user. As one of the 4 famous schools, Shanghai Metropolitan University must have good talents. If you want to get enough resources in the school, strength is the last word. Take mimicry training as an example. He already has the opportunity to practice once a year, but if he wins the first prize in the freshman competition, he can also get a chance to practice mimicry. Su Ming plans to take advantage of these 2 months to improve his strength and develop spatial abilities. D-grade alloy sword, 600,000 yuan. It's really expensive. There are many ways to improve strength, developing abilities, cultivating qi and blood, and changing equipment, all of which can greatly improve one's own strength. Not to mention the improvement of abilities. Ability is the foundation of a person with abilities. When the ability is improved, the strength will naturally increase. Qi and blood training is the same way to become stronger as supernatural powers. If certain achievements can be achieved, it will also be a good improvement for the overall combat power. And it doesn't mean that you can't cultivate qi and blood after awakening the ability. On the contrary, with the improvement of the ability, the requirements for the human body become stricter. Many people with supernatural powers will be forced to start cultivating qi and blood after their supernatural powers reach the 4th level, in order to meet the carrying needs of their supernatural powers. After all, your energy in the sky has become stronger. As a container for this energy, if the body remains at its original level, it will be broken sooner or later. But even so, the cultivation of qi and blood by high-level supernatural beings is only for satisfying the improvement of supernatural powers, rather than choosing both. Because there are simply not so many resources for you to cultivate concurrently, nor do you have enough energy to improve abilities and vitality at the same time. In addition to supernatural powers and qi and blood, what can quickly increase strength in the short term are weapons and combat skills. No matter what kind of battle it is, the advantages of equipment cannot be ignored. Combat skills are supernatural combat techniques, which can greatly increase the effect and power of supernatural abilities, but Su Ming will not be able to obtain space supernatural combat techniques in the short term, or in a long time, there may not be such a combat technique. With the emergence of new skills, who made his abilities a rare commodity. But there is no such requirement for war weapons. No matter what level of war weapons, one characteristic they have in common is to convert supernatural powers into attack energy. Because it is mixed with foreign substances, the weapon can perfectly accept the ability in blood. Even if an F-level ability owner takes the weapon and fights with AC-level ability, the result is very difficult to appear. A foregone conclusion, unless the level difference between the two is huge. So when thinking of improving his strength, the first thing Su Ming thought of was to equip himself with a set of armor. If the mimic training in the Magic City was not so attractive, he would definitely choose Nandu University, which is a set of supernatural armor. When he saw the price tag of the weapon, it was impossible not to regret it in his heart. A D-class sword cost 600,000 yuan, and it was impossible to get a complete set without tens of millions. And this is only a D-rank weapon. Before I said that, I seem to have scrapped Mr. Lu's A-level weapon. It's a good thing she didn't ask me for compensation. Thinking of this, Su Ming couldn't help feeling rejoicing. A-level weapons basically start with tens of millions, and generally speaking, A-level weapons have special attributes. The value of the attribute that the user's ability can match cannot be covered by a little money. Su Ming estimated his current assets and future assets. There are about 80,000 yuan left in the card, 50,000 of which are subsidies issued by the Alliance after certification. To enter the 4 famous schools, the school's scholarship is 500,000, and the principal will also give a personal gift, which should be rounded up with the school's scholarship, which is 1 million. Then there is Shanghai Metropolitan University. The conditions given are 2 million yuan, which adds up to more than 3 million yuan, which can almost buy 1.5 C-level weapons. D-level weapons are not within his consideration, not to mention the low energy carrying capacity, they are also easy to wear and tear, and the price-performance ratio is too low. These are life-saving things. The quality can't be too bad. If it's not that the level of the weapon is too high, he can't master his own strength. He wants to grit his teeth and get proficient with a B-level sword first. After all, 3 million it can almost reach the edge of a B-level weapon, so let's borrow some money. With their guaranteed A-level ability, the major banks are more than happy to lend money. In the end, Su Ming chose a C-level combat knife and a pair of C-level combat boots and added them to the shopping cart. Now that the money has not arrived, it can only be done first. In addition to these two big items, he also bought a set of outdoor life equipment and some scattered things. There are such things as evolutionary points, and if you want to improve your strength, you naturally use the wool on the alien beast, and you can also master your own abilities by fighting the alien beast, killing two birds with one stone. And the strange beasts are in the wild suburbs, and the supernatural beings are also human beings. If they want to experience and fight in the wild, they must have what they should have. The equipment has been selected, and the next step is the space ability. Facing high-level ability users, the space ability is also a bit troublesome. Thinking of the previous situation in the principal's office, Su Ming couldn't help but frown. Because space has a high status in his heart, he has always felt that he is invincible. Even if he can't beat others, he can still run out. But when faced with a high-level supernatural being whose own supernatural powers almost fail, let him understand that space is very strong, but his own realm is not enough for him to ignore everything. The closer to the space of high-level supernatural beings, the more difficult it is to control. In this way, space cutting will not be effective. Space is very destructive, but if it can't affect the target, no matter how strong it is, it's useless, which means that I have no means of attack when facing a power user above the 6th level. Teachers from the 4 famous schools have commented that Su Ming is invincible below the 6th level. He can kill them all, but the premise is that he can shake the space where these people are. Since you can't directly manipulate the space you are in, how about starting from an unrelated space, creating space cracks in advance, and then using the destructiveness of the cracks to cut? Su Ming had an idea. He couldn't directly cut the space where the target is, so let's change the angle. Immediately, he began to experiment, forming cracks in the space in front of him, and then changing the position of the cracks, tearing them all the way to the TV at home. A silver arc visible to the naked eye appeared, which was the effect of continuous tearing of the space, like a knife light, neatly dividing the TV into 2 halves. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to the host for developing a combat technique, Space Blade. Reward evolution point. 1000. Successful. Hearing the sound of the system, Su Ming couldn't help being overjoyed. He didn't expect that he had developed a supernatural combat skill on a whim. Chapter 12. Name: Su Ming. Level: Elementary low-level ability user, Elementary low-level practitioner. Ability: Space control. Skills: Mental perception, Space Blade. Evolution points: 1000. Calling up the panel. The skill bar is no longer empty, and the supernatural combat skill Space Blade just developed has been recognized by the system. What surprised him was that a mental perception skill appeared out of thin air. Could it be because of strengthening the spirit before? In this way, my perception of the surrounding movements is indeed much more sensitive, and I don't even need to take the initiative to think about the surrounding movements. At first I thought it was due to the spatial ability, but now it seems that the spiritual perception is the main reason. After all, the spatial ability needs to be mobilized to respond to things in the space, and the spiritual perception seems to be passive. This is not bad. If there are strange beasts outside who want to sneak attack, I can have some time to react. Without thinking too much, 1000 evolution points were directly fed to the spirit, and the feeling of lightening the body was simply not too pleasant. This kind of pressure from nowhere is always a trouble. Although I am used to it now, it will affect my body movements to some extent. Carrying a huge boulder to fight may not have much impact at this stage, and it will be hard to say later. Solve it as soon as possible. In addition, because of this pressure, he was unable to practice Qi and blood. What is important in cultivating Qi and blood is that Qi and blood run smoothly. He is almost crushed to death. Comfortable. It feels like a few more times. This feeling will disappear. Take it easy. Su Ming stretched, then sat cross-legged on the bed, and started the first meditation. The so-called meditation is to use one's own abilities to feel the alien molecules floating in the air, assimilate them, and enhance one's abilities. In fact, even if you don't meditate, the foreign world molecules will be integrated into the body, and finally assimilated by the supernatural power, or absorbed by the body, but this is only a passive process, and the progress is not usually slow. Meditation is to actively absorb the foreign world molecules. The efficiency is naturally much higher. Did I absorb it too quickly? Why did the surrounding outsiders disappear after just a short while? Before sitting down for a while, Su-Ming had to open his eyes, because the surrounding aliens became very scarce, and he was forced to exit the meditation state. The higher the strength of the power, the stronger the perception and attraction to alien elements. This is not clear to Su-Ming, but he is also too fast. The scope of meditation is too small. Without the power stone, I can't continue to meditate at all. According to the data given by the Alliance, no matter what realm the supernatural being is, the meditation range is between 1 meter and 1.5 meters. That is to say, in the meditation state, you can only assimilate alien elements within this range. When it arrived, naturally there was no way to attract assimilation. Generally speaking, a radius of 1 meter can already meet the meditation needs of most people, but for Su-Ming, it is far from enough. By the way, I can connect the surrounding space and expand the scope of meditation. Fortunately, his ability is space control. He can control the space of a sphere with a radius of 5 meters and 5, that is to say, all the supernatural molecules in this spherical space can be absorbed and assimilated by him, but the process is a bit troublesome and needs to be continuously contracted space, and then transfer the compressed space. After all, space is recoverable, and it's strong. After a piece of space is shrunk, a gap will appear, and the space itself will repair the gap. When Su-Ming's spherical space shrinks to a limit, he will be unable to control it, and will eventually collapse completely. If you don't want to try the taste of space collapse, you must release the spherical space before the limit is reached. Although the trouble is a bit troublesome, the effect is nothing to say. In meditation, a night without words. Early in the morning, a knock on the door made Su-Ming withdraw from meditation. It turned out that the field equipment had arrived, and the money for the school in Shanghai University had already been in the card. The next step was to wait for the sword and boots to come, and then go out to find the strange beast played. The waiting time is not boring. After meditating for a long time, you can try to develop abilities. If you are tired of developing, then start meditating. Although things are simple, they are not boring, especially when developing superpowers. The secrets and changes of the space and the powerful destructive power make Su-Ming enjoy himself. Without any information and literature to refer to, Su-Ming could only explore step by himself, but fortunately, he did not find nothing. Just like the idea of opening up a space, the first murder failed, but this time it succeeded. The murder is only an independent space of less than 2 square meters, but it is a big step forward from the original grand idea. Besides, although the 2 square meters are not big, there is no way for living things to survive, but it is still no problem to store swords and some supplies. This is much safer than storage rings and storage bags in fantasy novels, and no one else can see it. Not to mention stealing and robbing. 2 days later, the purchased sword and boots arrived, and the boots were put on directly. The sea-level boots have no special attributes, except for protection, they only have a spray effect. After injecting supernatural powers or chi and blood, high-intensity air pressure can be formed, making people soar into the sky, and greatly improving the ability to escape. The sword is a bit of a surprise. In addition to the general power enhancement, it has some paralyzing effects due to the electromagnetic blade. It is worthy of being a sword of nearly 2 million. There are no weapons in other parts, so they have to be replaced by multifunctional jackets, at least they look like that. The swords and supplies were all thrown into the independent space. Except for some large and unnecessary things, the house was almost emptied. After getting dressed, Su-Ming went out, packed lightly. Are you just awakening your abilities? Is no one with you? There is a protective net set up by the Alliance around the city. Not only will the alien beasts be interrogated when they come in, but the people inside will also leave records at the observation point if they want to go out. If something happens to you, the Alliance can cancel your information. Can't you go out? Must someone accompany you? Su-Ming asked with a slight frown. There is no such rule, but your life is your own, there is only one, so don't take it seriously. The people at the observatory looked at Su Ming for a while, then shook their heads and said, stamping Su Ming's record, indicating that he can do whatever he wants. The reason why I asked that question was that Su Ming looked really young, and there were people who experienced it, but they either came in a group or were accompanied by someone. A young man like Su Ming who went out to practice alone, but not much at all. Moreover, he didn't bring any equipment with him, so it looked like he was going for a walk instead of training. Chapter 13. After stepping over the protective net, Su Ming's first feeling was that the outsiders were much more active than those in the city. The protective net stopped the alien beasts, and also blocked the entry of alien elements, which is also impossible. Although there is not much difference between the environment inside and outside the city, the various strange noises from time to time indicate that there are still big differences between the two sides of a line. Su Ming cheered up. Although aliens were rare near the city, and powerful alien beasts would not approach. But here is outside the city after all, and there is only one life, so I throw it away lightly, and there is no place to cry. To be on the safe side, it's better to hold the sword in your hand, and you can't use the ability if you can't see the beast. This thing is not infinite battery life. Walking along the deserted road, without human activities, the road surface has been occupied by plants. Although the roadside has not yet turned into a forest, shrubs as tall as a person can be found everywhere. Not far away, Su Ming ushered in today's first wave of evolution point guests. Although this guest was well hidden, in the spiritual perception, the figure covered by the bushes was clearly visible. Outsiders are really strange. A mouse can have the size of a dog. I really don't know what the situation on the other side of the crack is like. Su Ming murmured. Instead of raising the knife to fight, he waved a silver arc with his hand, which was clearly a space blade. The family needs to consider the feelings of the neighbors, and he doesn't want to destroy his nest, so naturally he won't try the destructive ability of combat skills, so he can only feel it outside. Squeak, squeak. While the space blade was waving, the tragic sound of alien beasts also sounded from the bushes. Leaving aside the power of the space blade, even the wind blade released by the elemental wind-like attribute ability was hard to match at this speed. The cracks are gradually disappearing during the transfer process, and the impact is that the power is reduced. The effective killing distance of the space blade is about 150 meters. After killing the alien beast in the bushes, Su Ming fired a few space blades at the bushes at different distances, and came to a conclusion, slightly disappointed. If there are people around him, they will definitely go up and give him 2 big bags. You are a first-level supernatural being, and with your combat skills, you can effectively kill at a distance of 100 meters. What does your dissatisfied expression mean? You are a first-order superhuman. Some people find it difficult to release their powers outside. It is good to be able to cause damage within a range of 10 meters. If you are 100 meters away, what is there to be dissatisfied with? Open black lens bracket ding. Successfully killed the first-order low-level alien beast Shadow Rat, and obtained 13 evolution points. Close black lens bracket. Raising his hand to shake off the blood on the saber, Su Ming let out a long breath. This bushland seemed to be the territory of rats, and he had already killed more than a dozen shadow rats along the way. Except for the one at the beginning, which was basically killed with a saber, this kind of shadow mouse has no other ability other than camouflage and concealment. Unfortunately, their concealment was useless in front of Su Ming's spiritual perception, and the sneak attack along the way resulted in a headshot. Half an hour later, Su Ming ushered in the second strange beast that went out this time. Speaking of which, he had come into contact with this kind of strange beast before. It was the same species as the Black Panther beast I met at the entrance of the research institute last time. The difference was that the scales on this panther's body were light blue, and the cold air was still radiating from it. An elemental beast, my luck is really. Su Ming couldn't help but licked his lips and muttered. His eyes were fixed on the strange beast and he didn't dare to move away. Alien beasts also have attributes. In fact, the essence of alien beasts and supernatural beings is the same, and they are both products of the fusion of alien elements. However, most of the changes of the beasts are a combination of blood and strengthening abilities, the shape changes, and the physical body becomes stronger. But in the process of alienation, there are also different beasts with different attributes, just like the Black Panther in front of you, the cold air coming out of it, you can't tell that it is an ice-type elemental beast. The Black Panther beast is also very alert, with two vertical pupils staring at Su Ming, and the tense muscles in the back indicate that it may explode and launch an attack at any time. It's also a Black Panther beast. This one is much more deterrent than the number brother he met before. Suddenly, the Black Panther let out a low growl, and rushed towards Su Ming like a small car. Even if the spiritual perception is aware of this, it still can't make any reaction. My body can't keep up. Su Ming immediately figured this out, and used space teleportation to change his position. He has a feeling that if he doesn't dodge it, even if he blocks it with a saber, it will be more or less fatal. Space Blade. The silver arc slashed on the Black Panther, and the imagined half and half did not appear, but brought out a series of sparks instead. The space crack did not separate the space, but formed an absolute physical impact. Why? Su Ming couldn't help being stunned for a while, a little caught off guard by the sudden situation. But now is not the time to think deeply. The Black Panther who was hit hard seemed to be aroused fiercely. The scales on his body stood up, and he opened his mouth to spit out a cold current, and ice crystals instantly condensed on the ground along the way. Space distortion. He just used space teleport just now, and the surrounding space was disrupted. Even if he has the ability to control space, he dare not continue to use teleport at this time. With the phase distortion of the space in front of him, the direct cold current also turned into waves, turning to the side and freezing a tree. Split me in two. I can't continue to move, and it is still possible to move the opponent, but only half of the moving part. When the other half of the panther's body appeared beside her, Su Ming couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and couldn't help but feel scared for a while. It's not that he was frightened by the Black Panther, but the accident of the space blade almost caught him off guard. This space control cannot be said to be weak, but it is true that it is prone to accidents. Fortunately, this Black Panther's level is not high. If it can't be cut through space teleportation, it will be in big trouble. It's over. This cut is too neat, and the alien beast crystal nucleus won't be also. Su Ming's complexion changed drastically, and he quickly squatted down and searched among the Black Panther's head. Looking at the neatly cut crystal nucleus, he smiled wryly. The alien beast crystal core, a disguised version of the ability stone. This Black Panther has the ice attribute, which is a great supplement for those with ice abilities, but he cut it off by himself. With the principle of not being wasted, he tearfully absorbed this crystal nucleus worth hundreds of thousands. This is the crystallization of molecules from another world. Chapter 14. Name: Su Ming. Level: Elementary and Intermediate Superpowers, Elementary and Advanced Practitioners. Ability: Space Control. Skills: Mental Perception, Space Blade, Space Distortion, Space Imprisonment. Evolution Points: 480. After absorbing the crystal nuclei obtained along the way, Su Ming's power realm successfully broke through a small realm, and his chi and blood cultivation reached the elementary and advanced stage. After all, there is a pressure on his body all the time. It can be said that although he does not have a serious cultivation of chi and blood, he is cultivating chi and blood all the time. In addition, he ate a lot of exotic animal meat along the way and took in enough energy. Su Ming's body was always oppressed, like a dry sponge. Facing the sudden energy, how much did he absorb naturally? How many? How about fighting is the best way to become stronger? During this week, Su Ming's strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. This 1 week in the wild is much more rewarding than him building a car behind closed doors at home alone. The improvement of his realm is second, and the key is that his experience in facing battles has also been improved. And for resources, fighting is also the fastest way to obtain them. Chi and blood cultivation requires a large amount of life energy intake, and the easiest way is the meat of different animals. Different from the strengthening of supernatural powers, which is the assimilation of molecules from other worlds, chi and blood cultivation is to allow the body to absorb molecules from other worlds. The change in the shape of the alien beast is the result of the absorption of alien molecules, but the alien molecules absorbed by the body cannot be assimilated by abilities. Only the crystal nucleus, a pure crystallization of alien molecules, can be assimilated by abilities. However, it is also a fact that the flesh and blood of alien beasts are rich in alien elements. The supernatural powers cannot be assimilated, but the chi and blood cultivation can absorb them. Under the influence of multiple reasons, Su Ming's Qi and Blood realm has surpassed the supernatural power realm. Sure enough, only by understanding my own abilities can I use them better. My perception of space blades has always been wrong. Thinking about it, it is not easy to create space cracks with my current strength. Cracks can exist for a long time, kind of whimsical. After 8 days of high-intensity fighting, Su Ming also needs time to sort out the gains of this period of time. Take the space blade as an example. He is still very concerned about this first combat skill developed by himself. After the matter of the elemental Black Panther, for a long period of time, he has been researching on this combat skill. In the end, he found that what he thought was causing the damage was the cutting sensation brought by the space crack, but now he understands that the so-called space blade is not that complicated, it is just a simple space blade. Creating cracks at the beginning was nothing more than intercepting a piece of space and acting as a blade. When facing the Shadow Mouse, because the opponent is too weak, the blade formed by the space can be easily cut. And that elemental Black Panther has not only become stronger, but also has special attributes. Using the intercepted space as a blade, the effect is naturally unsatisfactory. In fact, if Su Ming could understand the true principle of the space blade before, it would be very simple to split the elemental Black Panther. The strength of the space blade depends on the strength of the intercepted space. Previously, Su Ming used the space blade to directly intercept the space and separate it for cutting. In essence, there is no difference in strength from the surrounding space. If you want to increase the power of the space blade, you only need to compress the intercepted space to make it more stable and hard, and the power will naturally be different. Just like the same knife, one is a wooden knife and the other is an iron knife, so the lethality is naturally different. Mental perception is passive, and its strength is related to mental power. This cannot be developed for the time being. After all, the other half of mental power is still fighting against mysterious pressure. The other two space combat skills are another result of this period of time. Space confinement. This combat technique is inspired by the strengthening of the space blade, which strengthens the controlled space to a threshold, which can make creatures in this space incapacitated. Whether it is a beast or a human, they can move freely in the space because the strength of the space will not hinder them, just like fish in water. But if the water condenses into ice, the fish in this water area can only be fixed in the ice layer, and the principle of space confinement is also the same, but it is just replacing water with ice, which is a combat technique with a strong control effect. Even if there is no way to completely imprison the other party's actions, the space will exert extremely strong pressure on them, and it will be somewhat inconvenient to move. The principle of space distortion is relatively simple. By changing the space phase, the space on the same horizontal plane forms a height difference, thereby disturbing the space. Through experiments, space distortion has little effect on existing things, and there is no way to twist the opponent's body into twists. Because no matter what kind of object it is, as long as it exists, it will stabilize the surrounding space. The stronger the strength, the greater the energy it contains, and the stronger the stabilizing effect. Even if there is a phase distortion in the surrounding space, the things themselves will pull the phase to force pairing. However, space distortion has a significant effect on elemental abilities, especially elemental attacks with launching trajectories. If a distortion is thrown, the target of the attack will basically be missed. It's almost time to go back and get rested, and the college entrance examination is about to start. Anyway, I'll be with my classmates, and I still have to attend the swearing-in meeting. Picking up a piece of hairy belly with chopsticks, Su Ming thought about going back. Although it doesn't matter if he doesn't take the college entrance examination now, for the vast majority of people, the college entrance examination is still necessary. We have been together for more than 3 years, and the swearing-in meeting is very likely to be the last chance to get together, and I am afraid that it will be difficult to see each other again in the future. The taste of the beast meat is still a little bit bad, but the hot pot is still delicious. Throw the hot pot and so on into the independent space, and prepare to go back after cleaning up the scene. Not far away, there was a burst of gunshots in the distance, accompanied by the roar of strange beasts. Someone is fighting a strange beast. Using firearms, is it an alliance commissioner? Su Ming stopped and looked in the direction of the sound. Simple firearms have little effect on alien beasts. Only war weapons and firearms can effectively attack alien beasts, so it is impossible for ordinary people to come out with firearms to fight alien beasts. But here comes the problem again. Firearms and weapons are the standard equipment of Alliance Commissioners, and those who can become Alliance Commissioners are at least third-order abilities. Through these few days of exploration, the most powerful beast in this area is only a second-tier intermediate. If it is an Alliance Commissioner, it is nothing at all, and there will be no fights at all. But looking at the movement, it is clear that the fighting is hot. Would you like to go and have a look? After hesitating for a moment, Su Ming changed direction and rushed towards the fighting site. If the Alliance Commissioner was injured, he might be able to make him owe him a favor or something. Chapter 15. When I came to the battle site, I saw a mess. A group of people in combat uniforms were surrounding a strange beast. Coincidentally, this beast Su Ming is still very familiar with. It's still the same kind of Black Panther beast, but with attributes. Good guy. I thought it was a certain Alliance Commissioner who was injured and was targeted by the alien beast, but it turned out that the alien beast was targeted by people. Looking at the situation, Su Ming knew what was going on the 8th floor. From the injured weapons of some Alliance Commissioners, it was not difficult to see that they were trying to capture this strange beast. Soon, Su Ming saw an acquaintance in the crowd, with long blonde hair. There was no doubt that it was Yang Mei. From the looks of it, this should be the research institute acquiring experimental bodies. Director Yang, this jaguar is made of metal, and the anesthesia bomb can't penetrate it at all. I think it's better to kill it and find another target. The Alliance Commissioner beside Yang Mei suggested that a Tier 2 beast is nothing to them, and killing it is just a matter of convenience. But catching it is another matter. It is necessary to ensure the safety of the alien beast, but also to make it lose its ability to resist. There is no way to penetrate. No, since you have encountered an elemental beast, you can't miss it. Even if you don't need it now, you will have a chance in the future. Yang Mei shook her head and said. The commissioner on the side nodded, and began to issue orders to prepare for another roundup. And the strange beast also moved. Its body was instantly covered with scales, revealing a metallic luster. The attack of the supernatural gun could only bring out sporadic sparks on it, and it could not cause damage to the panther. However, every time the Black Panther culled, the Alliance Commissioner had to avoid it. In terms of destructive power, the metal property is top-notch among the elements. Once hit, either death or injury. Damn, this thing is too difficult to deal with. I want to set fire to it. A fire elementalist said aggrievedly that being chased by a strange beast that he could easily kill would make him feel uncomfortable. Pull it down. If you burn it to ashes, the people in the research institute will put you on the research table. If you don't want to be a guinea pig, just bear it. Hearing this, the previous fire-type supernatural user couldn't help but shudder. Compared to being chased by weak and small monsters, he didn't want to be targeted by the research institute at all. Be careful. Spread out. The captain of the Alliance team shouted. The strange beast was emitting a golden light, and it could be seen that it was using the power of attributes. Sure enough, the panther slapped its paw on the ground, and metal spikes protruded from the ground, spreading in all directions. The cold light on the spikes seems to indicate that anyone who is touched by this thing will definitely remove a certain part of the body. Coincidentally, the range of the alien beast's move is a bit large, and Su Ming's side is also affected, so there is no choice but to move and change the relative position. Although it is said that there are combat boots on the legs, it can resist it, but the combat equipment is money. Millions. Su Ming, why are you here? With his movement, he was naturally exposed to everyone's sight. Yang Mei recognized him just as the Alliance team was on alert. Come out to practice. By the way, why do you want to capture this strange beast? See how aggrieved you guys are. Su Ming quickly said that he was one of his own, and after a few jumps, he came to Yang Mei's side. He is now a first-order advanced practitioner, and he still has this ability. Of course it's because of its attributes. The jaguar of the Research Institute has been missing and needs to be supplemented with experimental subjects. By the way, you are too courageous. Come to experience outside the city alone, you are not afraid of death. Yang Mei said in a tone of lesson. She knew the importance of Su Ming, and she was the one who made the suspected S-rank conclusion. Now the General Institute of Research has also noticed this matter, and is organizing personnel to come and confirm it. If it can be confirmed that it is S level, then Su Ming is not only the person who turns the theory into reality, but also the country's strategic background. It's here. I didn't go into the forest. Don't you think I'm fine? Su Ming touched his nose involuntarily and said, if there is no accident, the missing beast in the research institute should have been slaughtered by himself. Don't do such things in the future. After you catch this strange beast, you can go back with us. If you want to fight, our research institute has a place for you, and the outside is not as safe as you think. Yang Mei said that the research institute sometimes needs to record the basic data of the alien beasts, and it is inevitable that the alien beasts need to be moved, so there is a special coliseum. No problem, but hurry up. I was attracted by you on the way back, and I don't want to spend the night with you here. Su Ming pointed to the torn clothes and messy hair on his body, saying that he had had enough of living in the wild. Little brother, we also want to call it a day, but this thing is hard to catch. The team leader on the side smiled wryly. Although Su Ming looks young, but with his current attire, he has obviously been outside for a while. Those who can survive in the wild are all capable people. In addition, the director of the research institute is still very concerned about him, so the captain will naturally not look down on him. Well, if the beast can't move, will your anesthesia work? Seeing that all the anesthesia bullets fired at the beast were bounced off, Su Ming turned his head and asked. Look at what you said. The effect of the anesthetic produced by the research institute is no problem. If the beast is willing to cooperate, let alone the metal scale armor, it is copper skin and iron bone, and it can also be injected. The captain said exaggeratedly, but the research institute's syringes are really tricky, and there is always a way to penetrate the skin of the beast. Then it's easy to handle. Let's get the injection. If it doesn't work, you can just hit sap. Hearing this, Su Ming stretched out his hand and shook lightly in the direction of the Black Panther, and the space where the Black Panther was located was immediately compressed into one piece, imprisoning him in it, and then grabbed that piece of space, like carrying a kitten. Seeing the motionless jaguar in front of him, the captain was dumbfounded. What kind of ability is this shit? It's too exaggerated. He reached out and grabbed it. From the eyes of the swift jaguar, it is not difficult to see that it is trying its best to resist something, but for some reason, it just can't move. FK. Why is the strange beast so obedient all of a sudden? If you don't want it to move, it won't move. Fart. If the alien beast is so easy to talk, do we need to be so miserable? This is obviously controlled by a special ability, and it is very likely to be a mental power. Whatever. I know now that we can get off work. This is really aggrieved. Soon, after an injection of anesthetic, the swift jaguar became soft, and then put on a special chain and put it in a cage. Then it will spend its animal life on the research table. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.